Welcome to the BCSSA podcast. This is Walking Around the Province because we certainly are not swimming. We're here with Baylee Munro, who is a swimmer and a coach. And we're here with Jaren Lefranc, who is another swimmer and another coach. And I'll let them introduce themselves. Baylee, you want to go?
Hi, I'm Baylee. I coached with BC Summer Swimming for 5 years. First, I started off as a junior coach when I was coming back from my first year of swimming with the UVic bikes. Then next year I was a senior coach, assistant head coach. Then finally I got the coveted role of head coach for 2 years. And after graduating from university and BC Summer Swimming, I'm now an assistant head coach at the Nanaimo Riptides, which is a year-round winter club of about 400, 500 swimmers.
Cool. Jaren?
Hey, I'm Jaren. I'm the head coach of Penticton Pikes right now. It's my first year in that role. Past couple summers I've just been a bit too busy with swimming to take on any more than just helping out here and there. But this year I'm finally, obviously with quarantine, and I was kind of expecting to come home anyways at this time, so kind of worked out in my favor. I'm a swimmer at UBC Thunderbirds, and yeah, I'm going into my 4th year there. So yeah.
Nice. So I figured we start off just pretty chill and sort of, both you guys are varsity swimmers. I had to make my own mini team at my own university to consider myself one, even though I'm nowhere near fast enough to make a real one. So I figured it'd be cool to sort of talk about your guys' experience with varsity and sort of how you got there and, you know, what brought you to be a high-level swimmer. So take it away.
Sure. I'll start. So I was very much a walk-on pick. I basically chose University of Victoria. I had 4 schools that I applied to and got into. It was UBC, Calgary, SFU, and UVic. Wasn't going to be able to swim at UBC unless I swam club, obviously. Calgary, it was just too far, and I probably still couldn't swim there. So it was really SFU or UVic. I took a campus tour to SFU, and just the concrete vibes were not resonating with me. And then I also had a guy named Richard Bourgeois, who had previously swam at Riptides and then gone on to swim at UVic and was still there as a breaststroker. He was pretty good. Like, I think he got down to a minute point or so. So it seemed kind of like a natural progression because we were very much the same type of swimmer, and I figured that I would do pretty well. So walked on to UVic, and very quickly I found out that I didn't really have the requisite training base that a lot of the other guys coming from different programs did. So I was kind of lumped in with all the summer club guys, which were coming from clubs like North Shore Winter Club, right? Which is like a legitimate summer club, ironically, with their name. And that's kind of how the first year went, was just kind of getting the training up. Unfortunately, I got sick a few times, so I didn't even really get to go to the base. But thankfully, after the first year, I discovered summer swimming and was able to get a little bit more involved with that, which was fun.
Cool. So yeah, my varsity experience, I started swimming, I actually used to play hockey since I was little, and that's something that everyone in Penticton kind of does, at least. And so I was playing hockey until grade 8, and then I remember one of my friends who played hockey also did summer club, so I joined summer club in grade 6 just to do something in the summer, because hockey obviously isn't in the summer. And then kind of took a liking to it. Grade 6, grade 7 went on. Grade 7 I went to provincials, I think, summer of grade 7, and then grade 8 was like my last year. I think I was 5th or something in the 100 breast. And then so we started a swim academy in Penticton because there's a hockey academy here. So we were kind of starting up, and this was kind of a new thing that they were trying out. And so one of the counselors kind of approached me and said, hey, you might be a good fit for this program. And so I said, okay, I'll try it out. And I remember going to the first practice and getting absolutely destroyed, just because obviously you don't really train as much and like as frequently. So I remember coming out of the first practice and being like, wow, okay. But then my mom just said, stick with it. And so after that, in grade 9, I went on and I made age groups that year, that summer. And then kind of went on from there, made seniors, made Olympic trials in 2016. And then after that, I kind of started looking at universities, and UBC just seemed like an obvious choice. My club coach, Tina Hoban, is a UBC alumni, so I just thought, it's close to home, and that's something that's really important to me. So went there, and then, I've just been there ever since. It's been a pretty awesome experience. I did my first 2 years in the High Performance Center too there. So that was awesome. I got to swim with Tom Johnson and all those guys there. So that's an awesome experience. And then this past year, I just went to varsity. And then, swimming with Derek has also been super awesome. And I have no complaints. It's an awesome program. So, yeah.
I actually used to work with Derek back in Edmonton when he was coaching piano. He gave me my first coaching job. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. Big
Derek's
fan.
Awesome. Yeah.
My only experience with Derek is like fixing his slides at the coaching conference because none of his presentation was going to work, and he had to like rename all these files. He's like, "We have a professional in the room." I felt like a doctor.
Man, yeah, Derek's a good guy. He's moved around a fair bit too, actually. So he's managed to keep a name for himself, which is awesome. And he's done well.
Especially this year too, because obviously, like our head coach Steve Price stepped down like a couple weeks into the season, and then he just had to take over the whole program pretty much, and we've done awesome so far. So yeah.
Which, from a coaching perspective, that's a sweet step down, move up. It's like,
UBC is the
sweet
place.
I guess I could be in charge of UBC. Yeah, sure. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think it was a long time coming. So I think he's really good in that role. So he did UBC and then moved on to piano and then piano.
Like 2009, I think he was in UBC as head coach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He actually recruited Gareth.
Yeah, I was gonna say Gareth talks about him a fair bit too. Gareth predates all of us here, I think, in swimming too.
Gareth Saunders?
Yeah.
Yeah. Works at UBC now too.
Yeah. Yeah. So with all your, Jaren, you're on the national team too as well, right? Or you have been?
Yeah. So I represented Canada at FISU's like World University Games last summer. So that was my first like senior national team. Kind of being in the National Training Center kind of is like somewhat, and I was kind of always. In 2018 we had like the Pan Pac trials, and that was just coming top 2 to make the team, and I came 3rd, so I was pretty close that year. And then obviously last year I was 3rd again at trials, so not bad. The FINA A is still a little bit of ways, and that was something I was working towards this year, which kind of sucky it didn't come to fruition, but it is what it is, and hopefully the Olympics will be next year. Who knows? But yeah. So.
The Olympics being pushed back has been quite horrendous for most people.
Yeah, especially, I just remember the vibe of that day when we found out, just the national team, like the center, and then even our program, the top guys in our program. It was just so weird that the whole, like, we were ready to start tapering, and then it was just like,
you had like a couple weeks till trials.
Yeah, we were like starting our taper that week, and we were just like, okay, we'll take a week off now. So,
I guess it's not happening anymore.
Do you think the physical letdown or the emotional letdown was kind of harsher? Because you don't have the taper, you still get a physical break. Like, you're going to recover from your training block and everything. But the emotional letdown must be pretty intense.
Yeah, I think, I had my season was pretty all over the place a little bit. I still turned out pretty good performances at U Sports, but, if you look back a couple weeks before then, you wouldn't have known that. I was struggling quite a bit. But then I think after U Sports, I kind of turned it around. I was almost going best times at U Sports, like unrested. Yeah. So I was kind of ready to go for trials. So I think it was both really, because emotionally I was kind of all over the place anyways. So physically, I think it was more of that. Yeah.
So with all this experience, then I gotta ask, what's your most memorable race, or like best race that you can remember? This is for both of you two, but Jaren first.
For me, I don't know. Honestly, though, I'm gonna say like one of my most memorable races that I'll always remember is actually Summer Club Regionals. And Jaden, if you're watching this, I don't know if you will, but he's from Salmon Arm, and he was the guy to beat. And I just remember winning regionals just like out touching him, and that was like, it was a crazy feeling. And I mean, I made provincials that year, and that's always something that I'll remember. That's one that I'll always remember for sure, and that's just kind of what started this whole thing. And then my winter club experience, probably like a provincials one year where I qualified for Olympic trials in the prelims, dropped like 7 seconds off my time. Yeah, which is pretty good. 2:20 at 16, which was not bad for a 16-year-old. So yeah.
I think that's still faster than my 200 free, so I think you're okay. Baylee, what you got?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, so I've had some exciting races through my career. I get a lot of excitement these days from actually watching kids swim at regionals, and specifically like going for those third place touches, right? Where they just come in on like a 50 fly or something, and all the arms are coming into the wall, and you have to look up at the board, right? Because it's just so close. But let's say for me, it was actually probably when I was 16. So just a little background, when I was 14, so I think grade 9 or something, I made my first age groups in Montreal, which it's my favorite pool. It's a beautiful pool, Parc Jean Drapeau. It's got the cool thing in the background. It's a cool place. And then 15, I was just like freaking out at Calgary. This is like 2012, and like shaking like this before I get in for a 50 breaststroke.
From warm-ups.
That, yeah. So that year, I think when I was in Montreal the first time, I tied for a swim off 12th, and the guy that ended up beating me ended up like getting in and like basically medaling, which is pretty cool. But then 15, I was down to like 16th, right? Which I'm like, I want to make a final. I'm going to do anything to make this final. And that was also the year when they changed it. So you needed 3 cuts, and the cuts were made quite a bit faster for age groups. And I was always just a 50 and 100 breaststroke guy. I was a big kid. I could go like this really fast. I could spin my arms. So I had to learn how to swim a 200, right? I remember at the start of the year, I wanted to make the final in that 50 breaststroke, Montreal. It's a 10-lane final, so you have a little more wiggle room, right? And I remember writing down in my iPhone notes, I was like, it's going to take like 31, 34, okay? And so work hard the whole season. You do all the dry land, you do all the training and everything, and then you get up on the blocks in Montreal. It's a beautiful sunny day, right? You're swimming out of like heat 1 because you haven't gone a best time since the last age groups, right? You get up on the blocks, dive in, and just swim like just crazy fast, right? Like your stroke rate's just unreal, okay? 31.33, 4th. So finally got to the final, and just the feeling of kind of having that entire year after having, you know, the come up at 14, the setback at 15, and then having all that hard work pay off in making into that final. Next to some guys that were pretty fast, you know, like James Durgasoff and James Guest. I'm sure they still had seniors like 2 weeks later, but those guys were still fast. Like if they weren't going to like World Juniors, they were the guys, and they're still fast, like trials level guys in 100 and 200 breast. So just kind of that qualification and making that final was really what I wanted for that whole year. And it feels good to kind of cash all that in at once.
Nice. I have one, and I'm going to say it. I'm a provincial record holder in Alberta still. Summer club, but I'm still a provincial record holder. 4x50 freestyle. It's a relay, I count it. But it's a record that was standing for like 20 years, and that was one of the hypest things. And it's with like 3 guys that I've been swimming with since I was 6 years old, and we swam all the way until we're 17. So it's just that feeling
cool.
of like, oh, finally. Like, it took 11 years. But yeah, so with that sort of being the highlight of your swimming, let's look at some lowlights. What's been like a dark swim or a dark meet, or like sort of a tough time that you had to push through to really make it to where you are now?
I'll go. Olympic trials 2016 was pretty rough. I just remember it kind of like Baylee, like just like writing everything down and just being like, okay, I'm just going to do everything I can. And that's the year I learned I did too much. And I was just dead tired when I got there. And I just found awful. I was trying to make junior pan packs, and I added time in the morning in my 200. And I was like, man, like that didn't feel good at all. So I think after that season, I mean, after 2016 trials and just coming back and being like, okay, I need to work smarter rather than just do everything, because I was just gassed mentally and physically that I just couldn't put up a performance. So in 2017, I kind of I knew what I needed to do. So then in 2017, I came back and made World Juniors that summer. So yeah, so it was definitely a big learning experience of just like I was on such like a high like steep curve. Like I went from like summer club, I think I went a 116 in 100 breast at like that provincials before I went into winter club, and that was like pretty good for a Div 5. And then I think I went 114 at the first meet of the season, and I was like, okay, that's 2 seconds off my time already. And then I think I ended that year with like a 108 long course, which was not too bad. And then just like progressing as like up, and then that was the year I hit the plateau, and I was doing too much. So yeah, that's definitely something I'll always take away is that meet. So
and you went to trials pretty young too, right? Like you were 16, 17 years old, right?
yeah, I was 16 at those trials, and that was my first trials. I was gonna go to seniors the year before, but I think I was just like, I'll take the summer off. So
That's a pretty big meet to be 16 at. Like I could,
yeah,
you know, like that's I would
especially
be
for guys.
Yeah.
Like girls, you'll have, girls like Penny and Taylor that are just going to make teams and everything. But for guys, you're realistically looking at it for another like 4-8 years, if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, especially like even thinking about going to trials this year, I'm like, damn, like I'm only 20, like, and these guys are like 20 is still pretty young. And like,
how old's Richard Funk right now? Like
he's
too old to swim.
26?
No,
I don't know. He's still killing it. So
I know he's doing great. He actually swam out of my high school.
Yeah,
my high
and
school
he was
coach.
playing hockey. He was playing hockey at the same time too, which I
Richard's a great guy.
I just checked 27. So that's for US swimming. That's not even considered like that old.
No, he's not even at his prime yet.
Yeah, Canadian swimming versus US swimming. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Oh man, Baylee, you got a low point?
Yeah, I got some low points for you. No, let's just keep it simple because I remember this is when I was kind of my first upswing. So I made provincials when I was 11. When I was 12, I then got the first provincial medal, and we're talking like AAA's 100 breaststroke, probably next to James Durgasoff again. And then we're going in for the 200 breaststroke. I'm going in second. All right, and this is back when I was going for age groups the first time. I think it was 0.6 off from my swim in the morning. Which if you're 12 years old, you're going into a AAA's final, and you just missed a cut by half a second in a 200 in the morning, you're going to get that cut, right? You're just going to swim so fast and everything. And so I'm excited. I'm not like overly nervous. I'm not blowing myself up or anything. Get on the blocks, take your marks, dive in. Goggles come down to like here and just like immediately melt down. You go for that first pull out and then you feel them like flapping and everything, right? You come up for your stroke and you can't like see anything. Then you try to open your eyes. But if you're already like freaking out that bad, it's, I think I probably added only like 4 or 5 seconds. Like you're going to add more than that in your career as a swimmer on a bad swim. So in reality, it wasn't that bad, but just knowing that was kind of the last real opportunity to make age groups when I was just on this kind of trajectory, like, okay, you made provincials. Okay, you got a medal. All right, let's try to make nationals. And then you miss it because your goggles come off. And then I got sick. I had like mono or strep throat or something. So that was it for a little bit. That sucks. Thankfully, my parents bought me a puppy on the same day. So they had him waiting in the car.
Man. Yeah, goggles filling up really sucks. I swam a mile once and it filled up slowly with a slow leak over the entire race. But this is like, I swam the mile and I got gold in the province when I was 17. I'm 18 years old. I'm 60 pounds heavier. I am much unhealthy. I added like 4 minutes. I stopped at 50 early in my 1500 to empty my goggle and do the last 50. It was the most
victory lap.
Oh my God. It was so embarrassing because like I went in lane 4 with the best time. And like, it wasn't even fast. Like I'm in like an 1840 was my best time, but it was the fastest there. And then I ended up going like 23 minutes and I just didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I was like, I don't want to be here right now. Like it was just, my goggles are full. I was teary eyed, 18.
John McKay had that happen at CIs. I remember watching the webcast because I'm not at CIs. And I remember seeing him dive in the water and they all go like their fly kicks, right? I see him with his hand, like try to fix his goggles underwater. And I'm like, uh-oh, right?
That's game.
He was up like behind and I think he had to like stop and like fix him at the wall or something. And, in the 1500, let's say you lost 4 seconds because you literally stopped and fixed your goggles. That's honestly not impossible to make back.
You could make that back for sure.
You could make that back, but the most important thing is you just got to breathe and relax after that. But the psychological horror of that is just so much tougher because you're probably just jacked up and you're like.
Because of that, I now make sure that I have at least one practice where the kids don't have goggles. I'm like, great, they're mine for the day. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like
Bowman did that with Phelps at like a Grand Prix meet, except he stepped on them.
You don't get any goggles. Good luck.
Yeah.
Man. Was there any major turning points in your guys' swim lives at all that really made you yeah, I think I can do this. I think I can go into varsity. I think I could become a good high level swimmer and have some fun out of this?
I don't know. I think that 2016 trials is where I kind of turned it around, and I would it's one thing to set a goal, but it's one thing to know how to get there. And I think I set the goal and never really, I was the first one in my club to go to trials, I think, ever. So that was such a whole new experience of just going to that caliber of meet. And it was new for Tina too, because obviously she had never taken anyone there. So I think at points I just really learned to just trust her also. And I think, I don't know, the turning point was just after that and that World Juniors season being okay, these are the best swimmers, and that World Juniors ended up being faster than a lot of the Commonwealth Games, a lot of the Commonwealth Games performances. Yeah. And even the Worlds that came later in the summer, it was some of the times are just as fast. So it was a crazy meet to be at that pool in Indianapolis. So I think after that, I kind of turned around and was okay, this is what it is. And being on a high performance team and just knowing, also too, because at that meet, Penny Taylor, the whole Ontario Center was there, and having Ben Titley there, and just the level of professionalism that goes into really high performance it kind of prepared me for going into the high performance centers. I kind of knew already what the expectations are. So that was definitely something that really helped me, is just that meet, knowing how to get to the next level. And I think ever since then it's weird because I was carded in grade 12, carded in first year, lost my carding, but ever since I've still been going steady best times. So I think I really attribute that to just the level of preparation that I had from that. So yeah.
Titley is the man. Everything
he's scary.
if you look back at so you go back to the UK, right? And you've got guys like Liam Hancock, right? And then there's a connection to James Gibson of Energy Standard there, who's swimming breaststroke. And I think Mel Marshall too. I think Mel swam for Titley at Loughborough, who's obviously coaching Petey now. So the man turns to gold. So
yeah, Tina did a mentorship with Mel, so that was pretty cool too. She got to meet Adam, so
yeah. I saw Adam in the hotel casino at the Mandalay Bay Resort for ISL, and it's funny because I was just walking with my dad, talking about, oh yeah, swimming tomorrow, and then I saw him walking past, and I was like, is that Adam Peaty? So of course you look around, and he had this whole posse entourage of 6'5", 6'6" guys, they were surrounding him like the president, just like you would imagine. And he looked like a demigod. You're like, oh, he's 6'4", but how big he actually was, it was pretty crazy. So yeah, big guy.
He went 56, didn't he now?
He could break 56. I've looked at the numbers, just based on how much better his start was and his turns were at ISL. Even though they're still not good, for him, it was better than his performances at Rio and Guangzhou or whatever. So he could get down to 55.95 or something was my limit. After that, breaststroke is just over, and maybe he'll actually swim a good short course time.
The 200 has a long way to go though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's a tough race. I don't envy you.
200 is fun to watch just strategically because you have everyone okay, so who's going to keep the length, who's going to shorten up, and then in the last 50, just everyone, that they've just got the piano on their back and you're trying to rate up, but if you rate up too much, you shorten up and everything. Yeah. And it's just, So back to the topic. When you thought you were good. So I'd say after age groups, we came back and we swam at this meet called Midsummer Madness, which is at Saanich Commonwealth Place. PCS hosts it, and it's a pretty small meet. You know, there you can basically make the timeline to whatever you want, and I think I actually achieved a perfect swim meet there. So that was the final point where I dropped by that time, because you had to swim the 200 to get to age groups. I dropped the 16th and final second on the 200 breaststroke that season, from like 245 to 229. And I think I best timed in every single breaststroke and won like every single race. And, you know, because Vikes is right there, I felt like, hey, this is pretty good. You know, you're going to get your foot in the door here by actually being like, wow, so this guy just went like 6 best times or something, right? And, you know, mentally, like thinking that you're in the 220s rather than in the 230s, suddenly you're like, oh, you feel like you're just that much bigger, right? But yeah, it was coming off of that age group swim where, you know, you worked all year and you just went your goal time within like 100th, and then you come down and you get to do it short course, which is more fun because the swimming is just faster. There's a little bit more to it with the skills and the turns and everything. So that was a fun thing. I'd say in terms of coaching, when I realized like, hey, this could actually be like pretty good. Anytime you're at regionals and things just start happening like crazy, kids, I think some of them like to save all the improvement for the year down to regionals, right? Like they'll intentionally kind of sandbag or not really do all this stuff throughout the season, so they can get that really massive drop at regionals. So yeah, just lots of fun times watching kids drop then.
You never swam summer club, but I can tell you it's never an intentional sandbag.
Something happens there.
Something clicks.
It's summer club magic, man. I swam for real in summer when it was my first year coaching, when Gareth was head coach. And this is when I was just so frustrated with the breaststroke, like what Gareth or Jaren was talking about with doing too much. My first year university, I had a higher attendance than all the carded guys. I had come from, you know, swimming 7 times a week, 5K of practice if you're lucky, to swimming like full-on bikes 9 times, 5, 6, 7. I even did like an 8K or 2, and just getting like killed, right? But then you come back in summer club, you do some fast 25s, and you drop a second and a half on your 50 freestyle.
Oh, did everything cut out?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Are we good?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got all the words out of that.
You just went into the matrix.
Yeah, you did too. But I could hear it all. We're all good. Yeah. That 50 freestyle and like regionals for some reason is always just like, oh, I still got it. Or like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
look at this. We can pull this out. Sure. Even as like a coach now, right? Like it just comes out of nowhere. I say that as if going a 27 is a big deal for me. So, oh man.
For all the summer club kids.
Oh, are we good? I think we're stable again.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 27 is quick for me right now. I'm slow again. It's great. It's lovely. I love my swimming career.
You get diminishing returns though. You'll get fast quick.
Yeah, I mean, if I
kids that are missing swimming right now.
If I lose 30 pounds, that's 3 seconds right there. So.
Is that how it works?
It's pretty close, actually. Yeah. So, like, with that in mind, then, too, you sort of talked a bit about coaching. Jaren, I actually don't know when you became a coach, but like, what sort of led you into becoming a coach, and like, what was that process, and do you enjoy it? Do you want to continue it? You know, like,
yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like in our club, it's a super small club, so usually the seniors coach like the turtles or the 6 and unders or whatever. So I started coaching, just like volunteering and just helping out where I could with the little guys, and then kind of progressed up from there. Like started coaching juniors, coaching winter maintenance, and in the winter, obviously, and then and then ever since, I mean, after university, I was always kind of eyeing that head coach job, or the assistant coach job, or just something more, because obviously like just working with such great coaches already, like being coached by such great coaches, like it just inspires you. Like you have so many ideas as an athlete that you think you can take at least to some other athletes. And I think that's something that, especially after being with Tom and being with Ben Keast and then being with Derek and Steve and, all the other coaches. Yeah. So
yeah, those are big names.
yeah. So I think after that, just, it kind of excites you, and just you have been in that position, so kind of what it means to be kind of a high performance athlete. And I think from my perspective also, though, like these kids that I'm coaching right now, I mean, some of them are pretty good. I mean, Ryan McMillan broke 2 national records.
I didn't realize he was yours. That's cool.
He'll be mine. Well, we'll see if the pool's open, but I was excited. But yeah, so there's some pretty like good swimmers here too. But I think having to take a step back from high performance, like in general, and taking it and simplifying it to what it really means to be a swimmer, and like just the fundamentals of swimming, I think I find really interesting. And just even delivering a program that's high performance but guised under just simplicity, I think is super cool too. Especially with a smaller club like this, you can do a lot. So yeah.
That's Summer Club in a nutshell. How can we produce high performance in a really simplified 14-week program?
Exactly. Yeah.
Baylee.
So just one thing about McMillan is we actually had the boy that was going in second into that 100 freestyle final.
Yeah.
Games. And this is so funny because I'm like, all right, Carter, you're racing with the big dogs. You got to beat him to 15 and then ride the wave. So Carter dives in like boom, 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 boom. Huge breakout, like maybe half a body length ahead at 15. And then by the 25, he's like already on the lane rope and like trying to ride the draft and just trying to go so fast because strategically, obviously Ryan's a super talent. He's great at splitting, he's got that great speed endurance. And just kind of trying to use that kid to try to make one of our kids better was kind of a fun little challenge. And that comes back to kind of what got me into coaching was when I first took the summer swimming junior coach job, part of me, so I did computer science as my undergrad at UVic. And obviously there is some pressure to say like, oh, you got to get a computer science co-op. You got to do something with your life, right? And then it was like, hey, you should come coach summer swimming. Like, okay. So I come on in and I realized just how strategic everything was, when I was in the pool, like dividing kids like this and getting splashed in the face, it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be to me. But then when we went into the office and we're trying to figure out like, all right, so how are we going to make these groups? How are we going to put these kids on relays? How are we going to get all this stuff done? The strategy was really, really, really what hooked me on summer swimming, because previously I think when I was swimming, it was a very sterile environment in that it's like, okay, you come to practice, you do your stuff, you get best times, you go home, right? Versus kind of thinking that there's like a metagame to it of using other people to try to make you better and really competing. And that's what summer club's all about. With the top 3 places, there's going to be winter club kids that they go to trials, they get into the A final, they're seated like, second to fourth, so they're reasonably in there, but they've never ever hit a regionals final or something like that. They don't have that experience competitively of saying like, you have to get top 3, right? And a bunch of kids like, there will be guys that will drop other guys, especially on things like 200 fly, in a long course final at trials, because they just want it more. And they've gotten used to applying that emotional energy. If you're trying to hit a brand new level and you haven't experienced that before, you can kind of blow yourself up, right? Or you'll feel new anxieties versus if you've had that experience in summer club. I think that's very valuable for competing at the highest level.
I think that kind of ties in a little bit with what we always say, in that summer club kids know how to race.
Absolutely.
I think it's important in my head at least, for all swimmers to at least experience some form of summer club. Jaren, you started there, which is great. We love it. That's what I like to see. I never left it, so that's my mistake. But
You're
Baylee,
a varsity athlete.
I'm varsity now, man. And Baylee, you just sort of you migrated into the coaching role quite a bit, so I think you understand that too. That like when you're racing every single weekend, like in the end, your time doesn't really matter because you get to do it again in 7 days. So have fun. Like,
yeah, I think that's why you see so many of the NCAA people do so well too, is because they're pretty much in the same program as like a summer club kind of racing, no matter what. Yeah, racing, and doesn't matter your time, you just need the points. And I think that's what I like about varsity swimming too, is it kind of reintroduced me to that kind of, it doesn't really matter what your time is, as long as you take home the W for your team, that's really all that matters. So like, I think, and it's fun to swim, and you'll still swim fast when you're under that kind of condition anyway. So yeah.
Not to mention the meets run really well. Like if you've ever been to a Canada West, that first session is done in like 30, 40 minutes, right? Okay, 50 flat, 50 back, 50 breast. All right, distance. Everyone else in the warm down pool, right?
Yeah.
Always like a couple people that'll try to do like the 50 fly, 50 back double, which just means you're basically, and there's only going to be like, 3 or 4 heats of each event, right? So that's probably like 12 minutes between. That whole session is just wrapped up, packaged, and just gone,
Mm-hmm.
Like some club meets will just go forever.
I like that school swimming is still around, like varsity and even high schools out here too, and NCAA. It's all that based around that team culture, I find, and that's a nice bow to put on it, right? You're a swimmer and you care about how you do because it's an individual sport. But when you start acting as a team, and like the summer clubs out here too, it's like we are one team. Your goal is to beat the other guy to make our team better. Like it's your times, I don't care. Like it's the whole race, have fun, do well, and support your team as best you can. And I think that comes with varsity too. I mean, we only swam 2 or 3 meets this year as varsity, and we swam against 13-year-olds. So I don't really have the real experience yet, but I think it's still there.
You got to get into a dual meet with like, do like a UVic and SFU dual meet, make it a tri meet.
We'd love to. We're gonna look into things like that. I think it'd be so hype.
Talk to Smokey.
Yeah, we will get crushed, but that's okay.
You'll get those points in the mile.
Oh God, I don't want to swim.
I'll do your lap counting. I'll put it in, and I'll.
My coach doesn't want me swimming the mile. She says you can't even handle a 400 right now. Don't do it.
That's a mercy killing, is what that is.
Oh man. Yeah, that culture aspect of teams is always super cool, and I think that's why I like coaching quite a bit too. I did coach winter for a bit, and I there's just something about summer club and that whole team aspect. You're here as a group, have fun with the culture, and enjoy it, man. That's super cool to me.
I feel like the summer coaches, because they come from those programs where there is such a team environment, they're more inclined to kind of grow it on their own teams. That's where kind of the cycle comes through with, if your summer club has kids going off to varsity, then they're more likely to come back, live at home, and coach those programs. And it just kind of gets a positive thing going, right?
Yeah.
Like even with White Rapids, we've got Finn and Eric. Those boys are swimming varsity at VIU right now, and you can guarantee they're going to come back and coach over the summers, Yeah,
they love it. And even Jaren, like you coming back and coaching, like that's a prime example. It's like you've made it up quite high in swimming, and you're like, this is sweet. I'll come back. Sure. That's cool.
Yeah, it just means a lot to come back and give back to the club that really started it all for me. So that's the most important thing.
Homegrown. I get it. I really do. Yeah. So Baylee, you kind of touched on it a little already, but I was going to ask you guys, like, with coaching now, like what's your guys' favorite coaching moments? Like, is there one specific moment that you're like, this is why I do it? I'm in tears. I love this. Like, whatever. Or is there like just a general aspect? I don't know. Take it away.
Lee, I think with Steven, that one would be pretty easy. It would be the Lila anchor. So, Jaren, just to give you a little bit of history here. So this is just at our last provincials down in Kamloops, and driving up to that, Steven, who is my assistant head coach, his car like completely overheated and broke down like while we were driving up the Coquihalla, right? And so that was already just kind of the start to the trip. And then we come on in, some things are going good, but we're going on to the relays where we've got these little like Div 1 girls, okay? And some of them, we're talking siblings that didn't necessarily qualify or whatever, but they're coming along for the ride. And Steven was out in the, what would you call that? The field house, I guess. And before his little girls, I guess they grabbed like a pack of markers like he used to draw as a kid and just like prison tat over his entire body, just like whatever they wanted, right? And they also like did his hair in these like little like twirls or something. And coming in, this is like an A final at provincials, right? So you've got medals on the table and everything. And we've got like literal like 6-year-olds, but strong 6-year-olds going in. And then we've got this last girl, Lila Barbary, who pulled out the Jason Lezak moment because they were down at like 7th or something, right? And pulls out like, I think for Div 1 girl, she went like, was it 38 or something? 38?
Yeah, she broke 40.
Yeah, I think it was like 38 seconds, which is like a 4-second PB, right? But just like reeling in the final 5 meters and the announcer's like, ah! And coming in for that touch and gets it. It's like, ah! American hero.
Tears, literal tears.
As for, I think some of the greatest coaching moments happen in those relays because that's the chance to really unite the team together. I know for me at that meet, we had a very similar kind of situation because we had Cam Laternis, who was swimming, fairly well. He won, I think probably was a 200 IM, 100 fly. He was second in 100 breast, so pretty strong overall swimmer, right? And we've got the Div 7 boys relay where we've got those varsity boys who were in grade 12 at this time and had been together since they were like little kids. We've got Nick Tonella, Finn Bodner, Eric Labasse, like never won a provincial medal, okay? And they're coming in. And Cam Laternis comes up to me after he probably just swam like 100 breast, 100 free, 200 IM, 50 free. So he's had a loaded weekend and he's like, I'm not really feeling it right now. Like I need something to kind of get me pumped up for this race, right? And so I tell him, I'm like, you've been there, you've done that. You got the gold medal, right? You just missed the provincial record, but you got all the club records. You've gotten all the best times, right? Now is your chance to be a part of something bigger because you've got these boys that they're in grade 12. This is the last day, all right? This is the last chance to get a medal on the table. Here you can help them realize something that they've never done before, right? And so they dive in for the race. I think Finn probably leads off Nick Tonella leads off, 26-2. That's okay, all right? Finn goes in 25 mid or something, reasonable. They're sitting like, 5th, 6th. Eric goes in. Eric's not a sprinter at all. He's probably like a 27 PB, pulls down like the 25 low. So that's pretty good. I think they're in like 4th or 5th now. Cam Laternis, little guy, okay? He's like 5 something, like not a big number. Dives,
Wow.
kick, big straight arm breakout, head under the water, Dressel style, okay? Going in like 4th or 5th to the wall, comes in, early submersion, feet come off, most beautiful underwater transition, head down, big breakout I've ever seen, plows to the wall, touches, 3rd. The boys, grade 12, graduating gift, get their medal. They're like, ah! So being able to translate those individual performances to something bigger.
And what did Cam split in that?
23-8. So bad for being the boy that was, I think, 2 divs down or something.
Yeah. Jaren, you got a coaching moment?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I've just been kind of on the outs a little bit of kind of, I've seen their performances and it's kind of been interesting to see just the kids that I've coached since they were like little and like coming from winter maintenance and moving up and moving up and moving up. I think having seen that progression, I think has been the most important for me of just growing up with, because I started coaching when I was like 14, like pretty young, and like seeing like those kids. I remember taking Ryan to like a Kisu like jamboree, and he was swimming the 200 IM, and I was like, okay, well we've just like been swimming a couple times a week. Like, let's see, he's like 7 years old and goes like a 3:30 something for the 200 IM at 7, and
Nice.
I was like, and that's pretty quick, like really good for a 7-year-old. And I
under
just
4 minutes. That's
yeah, under 4 minutes is that kind of threshold. And so and then seeing him kind of take off and just kind of being in the background of that and kind of supporting that, even though I don't claim him in any way of his performances. We're always close, but I don't claim him. Like Simon, 100%. shout out to Simon if you're watching this. Yeah, that's all Simon. But I think just being in the background of all these kids too, like even like the kids that kind of came up, and Ryan has kind of been that archetype of what the club can produce. And then I think all these other kids, kind of the same thing. Like, I don't want to put myself on a pedestal and say that I was that, but in Kisu and even in Pikes, I kind of played that role. So I think just having, and kind of not like passing a torch, but just having like that person to set the standard of what it means to be a really good athlete is good. And just supporting that in any way I can is just, that's all I can really ask for. Yeah.
You're going to see pieces of yourself in those kids, right? Especially if you've kind of been with them long enough. Like all those boys I was talking about on that relay, I'd coached them my very first year of summer club. So they were coming in grade 8 and coached them grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Some parts are going to inevitably kind of rub off on them for better or for worse, right? But it is cool to have that connection, because when you think about it, I was like 17, 18 when I started coaching them. You know, you're at university, but you're still a kid and you're a little irresponsible, or a lot irresponsible, right? And then the time you finish that, you know, you're like 22. That's pretty cool, because they from like 13 to 17, 18. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, I feel like looking back like 5 years ago, I was so young. I was such a like, okay, I'm going to coach now. Like, you know what I mean? And then, but there's one thing that always still gets me, I think, is that sub 30 mark. As soon as a kid breaks it, it's just like, and you know, they're so hyped. And like, I work with a group that's senior swimmers, but not the like top senior group. They're the next ones over. So they're the ones that are always like, that 30 mark means a lot. You know, as soon as they get that, great, I can retire. I've done it. I'm a swimmer now. Like so the past couple of years, I've had a few of those, which has been super, super cool. One guy literally did it by the poof on his hair. So touched the wall with just his head, and it was $29.99. Like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Did this at regionals too. I was like, I of course.
Jaren, I got to tell this story about Duncan Boychuk, Lee. So they're swimming on I think they were the C relay. So if you're on a C relay and top 2 teams go, you're likely not going to hit the PQT. You're swimming this to just get some points for the team, have fun, get your splits. And so they changed the relay order on us. I'm like, why is Duncan going first? All right, this is like a probably Div 6 boy. That's just notorious for just dying in workouts and just like, you know, everything. So gets up on the blocks, dives in, and we're like, why is he doing butterfly? Why is he doing butterfly? And then we're all like looking like, what's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing? And then he touches the wall, goes like 29.9, and we're like, ah!
In like funky trunks too.
Yeah. We're talking like triathlete, like box cut here.
It's there's lots of good stories, kids, and I've had the pleasure of working with under Baylee for a while too, so I know we share a lot of the same stories. I guess I was gonna ask as well, you know, what's in the future for you guys? Like, what's next? Where do we see you in the pool and coaching? What's the future here?
Yeah. I mean, the other day UBC announced that classes are online for fall term, so I'm not sure. I think the pool will be open come September, at least for us. I think in the phasing that we're going to have, at least the varsity athletes will see more pool access than maybe the average swimmer, which is nice. So I think I'll be in Vancouver come September. And then coaching, I do a bit of coaching with the triathlon club there, so I don't know if they'll be there. And then, this summer, like, I was really excited to coach, and it was a bit disappointing that this had to happen, but I think it really made me take a step back and realize that it's this club for a lot of kids, and even for the coaches, is just that kind of sense of community and the sense of team more than just performances. So I think that's what we're trying to do here, especially I'm pretty sure that the pool is not going to open in June. Don't quote me on that. Don't sue me. But yeah, I don't think it's going to open. So we'll probably have another month of just we've been doing a few team activities over Zoom. We're not offering a lot right now too, because a lot of families in Penticton are really struggling too. It's small town, so we're trying to make it as accessible as possible for these guys. And I think that's just the main thing I wanted when I look back at the summer, is just how accessible did I make this program, and how much community could I grow just with the time that I have with these kids, which is not a lot. So yeah.
Cool. Baylee, where do we see you?
Yeah, just first on the pool stuff, I know that obviously with you, Jaren, being a high performance athlete, you're probably covered by the whole phase one of things kind of getting back in. So you're more likely to get in. Then it'll be like all the rec stuff and the tri stuff, right? We'd love to get back in like July, August for our winter club, just so we can kind of do like, we've essentially done the pool maintenance right now instead of it's done in August. So it's kind of push that around, and hopefully we'll be able to get some momentum going in and some fast at Christmas. I think that would be good. As for where I'm going in coaching, I essentially want to be able to put myself in a position where I'm able to coach, like Western's age group level kids, because, well, I guess they're probably going to restructure everything. I know they're going to be putting everything from age groups and whatever is called provincial champs. They're going to go back to AAAs, A's, AAAs, AAAs, which is a different tiering system for those of you that don't know. But
they restructure like every 3 years anyway.
Yeah.
So. Every year.
Yeah. Every 1 year. And yeah, like the national program, the way it goes currently essentially is girls that are going to be 13 and over can qualify for all those swim meets. Boys 14 and over. So I want to put myself in a position essentially where I can coach those age groups of kids. I don't really care about the caliber, because I know I'm going to be able to develop them to that level anyways, right? I'd rather have access to that age group anyways, because we've had summer club kids that are at those cuts and they've swam for like 15 weeks, right? So yeah, hopefully that's the direction I'm able to steer myself.
Nice. Yeah, last question, and then we'll do some plugs and just head on out. Do you breathe in or out when you dive?
You got to breathe in on take your marks, and then your mind just takes over, because it's going to be automatic. The truth is, it doesn't matter.
That's fair.
Jaren, what's your take? This is something Lee says to people right before their races at regionals or provincials, to mess with them, especially if he's going for a third spot. He'll say, hey, you breathe in or out of your dive. Then you hear...
It's all mental. It's all mental.
That is something that has never crossed my mind, and I hope after this moment it will never again.
You got to figure that out before trials, bud.
Yeah, if you don't know, I don't know what's going to happen.
Because then all you got to do is you just got to walk over to lane 4 and ask him the same question. And then
That's how you do it. No,
Yeah.
that's true summer club right there. Yeah, so I want to thank you guys actually for showing up and getting to chat a little bit about some nice high caliber swimming. And it's not often we get to talk to high level athletes like this, so thank you so much. It's also cool that you're both coaches. I love that. And in summer club, because summer club's where it's at. BCSSA.
The best.
So,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I'm gonna give you, if you guys want to plug anything, if you got Instagram, hashtag Twitter, at Breaststroke Secrets or anything, you can plug that now. Baylee, go ahead, plugs.
If you want to follow the best page on Instagram for swimming techniques and strategy, follow Instagram, Breaststroke Secrets. New posts every day. That's it.
That's all. Jaren, what you got?
I don't know if I want people following.
Yeah, Jaren's off limits.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Jaren Lefranc, Jaren.Lefranc. Don't follow me on anything else. I don't know.
Yeah, I got it closed off.
Well,
maybe I'll go private after this.
Yeah.
Well, we only get around 50
change,
views, so it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you guys so much again. We hope to see you at the pool, and hopefully we can get back in sometime this summer. If you're interested, we are creating weekly content. Monday through Thursday, we have programming for all of our swimmers, and on Thursdays we have coaches sessions. So if you're interested
Wednesday is mine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this week
follow
we got
if you want
Jaren
some
coming up.
breaststroke flexibility.
Totally,
Strength.
it's gonna be sweet. That's for all age groups. So if you want to see more of Jaren, sign up for the Wednesday session. He will be running us through some cool stuff. I also plan on having him on the coach's corner at some point too, and talking about some high-level breaststroke secrets that Baylee doesn't know. I certainly don't, because I never broke 34, and that was when I was 14 for 50, and I haven't gone faster since. That's my breaststroke career. Yeah, thanks again so much, and follow us at Instagram at BC Summer Swimming and on Facebook at BC Summer Swimming, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will see you guys next time.
Cheers.